Hey guys, tonight we aren't exploring a dusty, cobweb-filled attic or a creaking Victorian mansion. No, tonight we are going somewhere far older. A place carved not from wood and nails, but from the living rock of the desert itself. We are taking Gi, a journey into the heart of a lost city, an acropolis so vast and so secret it was hidden from the Western world for centuries. Imagine yourself in the dead of the Jordanian night, the air so dry it feels like it's pulling the moisture from your skin. The silence so profound it's almost a physical presence. We're about to walk a path where ancient kings, cunning merchants, and Roman legionaries once trod, their whispers seemingly absorbed by the towering stone walls that guide our way. This is a place of breathtaking beauty and unsettling secrets, set where every shadow seems to hold a story. Honestly, you probably wouldn't survive a single day here in its prime without a serious case of heat stroke and getting hopelessly lost in a tomb that was last opened 2,000 years ago. Welcome to Emberlight Echoes, the sanctuary where hushed histories are your lullaby. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Let me know in the comments where you're winding down tonight and what time it is for you. Perhaps you're listening from a humid evening in Singapore, or maybe it's a crisp, clear morning in the mountains of Colorado. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey. Takeover. You are standing at the mouth of a chasm, a deep, narrow fissure in the desert rock. This is the Sikh, the only entrance to the hidden city of Petra. The sun has long set, and the only light comes from a brilliant star-dusted sky, so clear and vast it feels like you could fall upwards into it. The air is cool now, a welcome relief from the blistering heat of the day, and it carries the faint, spicy scent of desert sage and ancient dust. You take a hesitant step forward, leaving the open desert behind and entering the tight embrace of the canyon. The walls, soaring hundreds of feet above you, are a swirling tapestry of sandstone, their colors shifting from rose-red to deep purple in the faint starlight. They are so close together in places that you could stretch out your arms and touch both sides at once. Your footsteps, which were silent in the soft sand of the desert, now echo unnervingly in the confined space, creating a quiet, rhythmic beat. To your solitary procession, you feel a strange sense of reverence and trepidation. This is not just a path, it is a gateway, a secret passage designed by the Nabataeans to protect their magnificent capital. It's a natural fortress, a geological marvel that made their city almost impregnable. You can imagine the Nabataean guards, perched silently on the high ledges above, their eyes accustomed to the darkness, watching every traveler who passed below. A common historical event for cities in this era was the construction of massive defensive walls and gates. But here, the Nabataeans let nature do the heavy lifting, a testament to their genius for working with the landscape, not against it. As you walk, you notice the remnants of their ingenuity. Carved into the side of the canyon wall is a water channel, a stone aqueduct that once carried fresh, life-giving water from a spring miles away into the heart of the city. It's an incredible feat of engineering, a quiet reminder that this civilization didn't just survive in the desert. They thrived. The deeper you go, the narrower and more winding the Sikh becomes. Stars above are reduced to a thin, silver ribbon, and the darkness around you deepens. It feels like you're walking through the very veins of the earth. The silence is broken only by the whisper of the wind as it funnels through the canyon, a sound that is almost like a human voice, murmuring secrets you can't quite decipher. It's a strange but true fact that the specific shape and texture of the six walls create unique acoustic properties, where a soft sound can be carried for a great distance, making it an ideal place for sentries to communicate without shouting. Find yourself glancing at the dark niches and small, carved chambers that dot the canyon walls. Were they shrines, tombs for honored guards, or simply places for weary travelers to rest in the shade? Historians still debate the precise function of many of these small carvings, their original purpose lost to the sands of time. It's like walking through the world's most dramatic and slightly spooky hallway, one that just keeps going and going. The anticipation building with every step. You feel a sense of being led, of being drawn forward towards something magnificent. The Nabataeans were masters of theatricality, and this grand entrance was their opening act, designed to awe and intimidate any visitor. Just when you think the canyon will go on forever, you see it, through a final, narrow slit in the rock. You get your first glimpse a sliver of an impossibly intricate, rose-red facade, glowing ethereally in the moonlight. It's so perfect, so impossibly detailed, that for a moment your brain struggles, to process what it's seeing. It looks less like a building and more like a hallucination. You quicken your pace, your heart pounding with a mixture of excitement and disbelief. As you emerge from the tight confines of the sick into a more open area, the full spectacle is revealed, and you stop dead in your tracks, your breath catching in your throat. Before you, carved with breathtaking precision directly into the face of a massive cliff, is Al-Khazna, the Treasury. It's a masterpiece of Hellenistic-inspired architecture, with its ornate columns, intricate friezes. You are still standing in awe before the Treasury, its impossible grandeur a testament to the people who carved it from the earth. To truly grasp the marvel of Petra, you must first understand the Nabataeans, not just as architects, but as the undisputed masters of the desert. They were a nomadic Arab tribe who, over centuries, transformed themselves from humble wanderers into the shrewd and wealthy middlemen of the ancient world. Their genius was not in conquering vast armies, but in conquering the most formidable foe of all, the relentless, unforgiving desert. Their secret weapon, the source of their power and wealth, was something we now take for granted, something that flows from our taps every day. It was water. The Nabataeans were hydrological engineers of such skill that it bordered on sorcery, key in one of the most arid regions on Earth. They managed to capture, channel, and conserve every precious drop of rainfall, creating a lush, thriving metropolis where, by all logic, no city should ever have existed. You begin to notice the evidence of their mastery all around you. The faint lines of channels carved into the rock, the deep, bell-shaped cisterns hidden beneath the city floors, and the complex network of clay pipes and dams that are still being discovered by archaeologists today. A common historical event, in arid civilizations, was the development of irrigation systems, but the Nabataeans took it to an art form. They understood the patterns of the rare, violent flash floods that tore through the desert. Instead of fearing these floods, they harnessed them. They built a series of dams and conduits that would divert the raging torrents, channeling the water into their vast underground reservoirs, effectively banking water in the same way a modern financier banks money. It was this control over water that allowed them to sustain a large population, to grow crops in lush gardens, and, most importantly, to offer refreshment and resupply to the endless caravans of traders traversing the punishing desert landscapes. It's like setting up the only gas station and five-star resort on a 1,000-mile stretch of desolate highway. You can pretty much charge whatever you want. It's a strange but true fact that the Nabataeans even developed a form of ancient air conditioning. They would channel water through a network of pipes running under the floors of their more important buildings. The evaporation of this water would cool the stone above, creating a refreshingly cool interior, a private oasis of comfort in the middle of the scorching desert. You can almost feel the phantom coolness under your feet, a testament to an ingenuity that was centuries ahead of its time. Historians still debate the full extent of the Nabataeans' technological prowess, as many of their secrets were never written down, passed instead through generations of skilled craftsmen. Their empire wasn't built on iron and steel, but on the careful, patient, and brilliant manipulation of stone and water. As you wander away from the Treasury, following the main path into the city proper, the canyon widens, revealing more and more of these incredible rock-hewn structures. The scale of it is overwhelming. This wasn't just a single temple. It was a sprawling city, a testament to a civilization that possessed not only wealth, but also an incredible, unified vision. You can see the faint traces of the stucco that once covered these facades, which would have been painted in vibrant, brilliant colors. Forget the monolithic, rose-red city you've seen in pictures. Imagine it as a riot of color, a desert jewel box painted in dazzling whites, deep blues, and brilliant yellows, all set against the natural canvas of the red rock. It would have been an absolutely breathtaking sight, a city that didn't just blend into the landscape, but erupted from it in a symphony of color and form. The Nabataeans weren't just surviving. They were making a statement, a bold declaration of their power and their artistry, written in water and stone for all the world to see. And as you walk deeper into their lost capital, you feel like a privileged guest, allowed a fleeting glimpse into their once magnificent world. You continue your journey from the awe-inspiring Treasury, moving down the main path that serves as Petra's central artery. The canyon walls, which had once hugged you so tightly in the sick, now pull back, revealing a wide valley lined with impossible structures. This is the Street of Façades, and the name is both perfectly descriptive and profoundly misleading. At a glance, it looks like a row of magnificent palace entrances, each one an elaborate statement of power and wealth. See grand doorways, intricate columns, and detailed cornices, all carved with a sculptor's precision from the same living sandstone. Your mind naturally assumes these were the homes of Petra's elite, the ancient equivalent of a billionaire's row, each family trying to outdo the next with a more ostentatious front door. But this is where Petra plays one of its most fascinating tricks on the mind. These are not houses for the living. They are houses for the dead. You are walking through a vast, silent, and breathtakingly beautiful cemetery. Each of these grand facades is the entrance to a tomb. The Nabataeans, like many ancient cultures, placed enormous importance on the afterlife and the veneration of their ancestors. For them, a tomb wasn't just a final resting place. It was an eternal home, a statement of a family's status and piety that would endure for generations. It's like instead of buying a flashy sports car to show off your success, you commission a ridiculously ornate mausoleum. It's a bit more permanent and sends a much clearer message about your family's importance to the spirits who are, presumably, keeping score. The interiors of these tombs, in stark contrast to their elaborate exteriors, are often simple, unadorned chambers. Just a square room, carved from the rock, with niches cut into the walls to hold the bodies of the deceased. All the effort, all the artistry, all the wealth was poured into the façade, the part that faced the world of the living and, perhaps, the gods. A common historical event across many civilizations, from the ancient Egyptians to the Romans, was the construction of elaborate necropolises or cities of the dead, often located just outside the main city of the living. Petra, however, blurs this line, with its tombs integrated so completely into the urban landscape that the living and the dead were perpetual neighbors. You can imagine a family having a meal on their rooftop, looking out across the valley at the grand tomb of their great-great-grandfather, a constant, silent reminder of their lineage and their place in the universe. It's a strange but true fact that many of the designs on these tomb facades are a fascinating blend of different cultures. You can see the influence of Mesopotamian art in the stepped crow-step patterns that adorn the top of many tombs, a clear nod to the architecture of ancient Babylon. Yet, you'll also see Greco-Roman columns and Egyptian motifs, all seamlessly blended into a uniquely Nabataean style. This architectural fusion is a direct reflection of Petra's status as a cultural crossroads, a place where ideas were traded as freely as incense and spices. Historians still debate the exact rituals and beliefs of the Nabataeans regarding death and the afterlife, as they left behind very few written records. Most of what we know is pieced together from the silent testimony of these tombs, the goods they were buried with, and the brief inscriptions they left behind. It's a massive historical puzzle, and these magnificent façades are the most beautiful, most enigmatic pieces. As you walk down this silent street, you can't help but feel a profound sense of peace. This is not a sad or morbid place. There's a sense of dignity, of permanence. It's the quiet confidence of a civilization that believed so strongly in the continuation of life beyond death that they built eternal mansions for their souls. You reach out and touch the cool, rough surface of one of the tombs. The stone feels ancient, humming with the faint, imperceptible energy of the countless lives it has silently watched over. You are not just a tourist in a lost city. You are a temporary guest in a city of silent, eternal residence. You are still walking the street of Façades, the silent, imposing tombs of the Nabataean elite standing as eternal witnesses to your passage. But as you proceed further into the heart of Petra, you begin to notice a subtle, yet profound, shift in the architecture. The uniquely blended style of the Nabataeans, with their hints of Egypt and Mesopotamia, starts to give way to something more rigid, more uniform, more Roman. You see a grand, paved street, lined with the stumps of what were once massive marble columns. You see the ruins of a nymphaeum, a grand public fountain, and the unmistakable tiered seating of a Roman-style theatre carved into the hillside. This is not a random evolution of style. This is the footprint of an empire. You have walked forward in time, right into the moment when the fiercely independent kingdom of Nabataea was absorbed into the relentless, ever-expanding Roman machine in 106 AD. The transition, by all historical accounts, was relatively peaceful. The last Nabataean king, Rabel-Tusoter, had likely made a deal with the Romans, agreeing that upon his death his kingdom would become part of the Roman Empire. It was a pragmatic move, an acknowledgement that resisting the full might of Rome was futile. It's like a cool, independent startup finally agreeing to be acquired by a massive tech giant. You might lose some of your unique culture, but you gain the resources and security of the larger corporation, and you avoid getting crushed. So, when Emperor Trajan's legions marched into Petra, it was less a bloody conquest and more a corporate takeover. The Roman governor of Syria simply arrived, raised the Roman standard, and Petra became the capital of the new Roman province of Arabia, Petra. But even a peaceful transition brings profound change. The Romans, as they did everywhere they went, began to build. They were obsessed with order, infrastructure, and projecting the glory of Rome. The paved, colonnaded street you are now walking on was their creation, a grand processional way designed, to impose a sense of Roman order on the winding, organic layout of the Nabataean city. A common historical event in newly conquered Roman territories was the immediate construction of classic Roman public works forums, baths, temples, and theaters to stamp Roman identity onto the local culture. The massive theater, which could seat over 8,000 spectators, is a prime example. While there was likely a smaller Nabataean theater here before, the Romans expanded and rebuilt it on a truly imperial scale. Can imagine the local Nabataeans sitting in these seats, watching a Greek tragedy or a Roman comedy, their own cultural traditions slowly being blended with those of their new rulers. Historians still debate the true extent of the cultural assimilation. Did the Nabataeans resent their new Roman overlords? Or did they embrace the opportunities and stability that came with being part of the world's greatest empire? The architecture suggests a bit of both. Grand Roman structures were built, yet the Nabataeans continued to carve their unique, intricate tombs into the cliffs, holding fast to their most sacred traditions. It was a city of two identities, existing side by side. It's a strange but true fact that during this period, Petra even had its own mint, producing Roman-style coins that bore the image of the emperor, a clear symbol of their integration into the Roman economy. You can almost feel the shift in the sea city's energy. The air, once filled with the unique sounds and smells of an independent Arab kingdom, would now have carried the clipped, authoritative tones of spoken Latin, the rhythmic marching of legionaries, and the scent of Italian olive oil in the marketplace. Petra was becoming more cosmopolitan, a more standardized part of the Roman world, but in the process it may have lost a piece of its wild, independent soul. And as you stand at the foot of a massive Roman column, looking up at a uniquely Nabataean tomb carved into the cliff above, you are standing at the very crossroads of this fascinating, complex moment in history. Yuli the orderly, colonnaded street behind, the ghost of Roman efficiency fading as you begin to ascend a series of broad, monumental staircases. You're heading towards the heart of Petra's civic and religious life, a sprawling complex that dominates the valley floor, the great temple. This is not a single building, but a vast multi-level precinct covering nearly 8,000 square meters. As you climb the final steps and enter the main temple grounds, you're struck by the sheer scale of the place. It feels less like a temple and xin, more like the headquarters of a major ancient corporation, a place of immense power and influence. The complex is a dizzying array of courtyards, colonnades, and collapsed structures, its purpose so grand that even today, archaeologists are not entirely certain what it was all for. Your eyes are drawn to the temple's most striking feature, the massive hexagonal pavement of the lower courtyard, surrounded by the remains of once towering columns. Some of these columns were over 15 meters tall, their shattered drums now lying on the ground like giant, broken checkers. Standing in the center of this space, you can feel the ambition of its builders. This was a place designed to impress, care, to make the individual feel small and the power of the Nabataean kingdom feel infinite. It's like standing in the lobby of a ridiculously opulent five-star hotel, the kind with so much marble and gold leaf you're afraid to touch anything for fear of setting off an alarm. But instead of a concierge, you're greeted by the profound, echoing silence of 2 millennia. The main temple building itself is a ruin, but a magnificent one. You can still trace the outline of its massive walls and see the intricate floral carvings and elephant-headed capitals that once adorned its columns, a fascinating blend of Greco-Roman style and Eastern motifs. What was this grand building's purpose? This is where the real mystery lies. Some scholars believe it was the primary place of worship in Petra, dedicated to the main Nabataean god, Dushara. Others argue its layout is more like a Roman-style basilica or audience hall, suggesting it was a civic building, the seat of the Nabataean king and his government. A common historical event is the creation of large, multi-purpose public squares or forums in major cities, which served as centers for commerce, politics, and religion, and the great temple complex certainly fits this description. Historians still debate whether the building was purely religious, purely civic, or, most likely, a combination of both, where the lines between the power of the gods and the power of the king were deliberately blurred. It's a strange but true fact that archaeologists excavating the site discovered a small theater-like structure, a theatron within the temple complex itself, capable of seating around 600 people. Was this for religious rituals and performances? Or was it a private council chamber, a bouleuterion, for the city's elders to debate matters of state? Its discovery only deepened the mystery of the great temple's true function. You can almost imagine the scene: a Nabataean king seated on a throne in the grand hall, receiving ambassadors from Rome, or a dusty merchant who has just arrived from the distant Silk Road. The air would have been thick with the scent of burning incense and the low murmur of political negotiations. The fate of kingdoms decided within these now silent walls. You walk to the edge of the complex, looking out over the rest of the city spread below you. From this vantage point, you can truly appreciate the strategic and symbolic importance of this place. It is the heart of Petra, the source from which all power, both spiritual and temporal, once flowed. You run your hand over a fallen column drum, its surface still bearing the faint chisel marks of the craftsman who shaped it 2,000 years ago. You feel a connection, a faint, fleeting echo of the countless people who lived, worshipped, and governed in this magnificent, enigmatic space. The great temple holds its secrets close, but its sheer, breathtaking scale tells its own story, a story of a proud, powerful, and incredibly ambitious civilization at the very peak of its glory. You leave the grand civic mystery of the great temple behind, turning your attention away from the bustling city center and towards the towering cliffs that loom over the valley. There, high above, almost hidden amongst the peaks, is another of Petra's legendary monuments. But to reach it, you must first undertake a pilgrimage. The journey to Ad-Deir, known simply as the Monastery, is not a casual stroll. It is a steep, arduous climb up a staircase of more than 800 steps, carved by the Nabataeans directly into the mountainside. As you begin your ascent, the sounds and echoes of the main city begin to fade, replaced by the whisper of the wind and the sound of your own steady breathing. Each step is a test of endurance. The sun beating down on the exposed pathway, pass by smaller, less adorned tombs and sacred niches carved into the rock. Their purpose is lost to time. These were likely the resting places of the priests or ascetics who once tended to this remote sanctuary. With every turn in the path, the views become more and more spectacular. You can see the entire city of Petra spread out below you like a map. The great temple, the colonnaded street, and the street of Façades all looking like miniature models from this dizzying height. The climb is punishing, but it is also cleansing. It's the ancient equivalent of a grueling hike to a remote yoga retreat, a physical effort designed to quiet the mind and prepare the soul for a spiritual experience. You can imagine ancient pilgrims making this same journey, their legs aching but their hearts filled with pious determination. A common historical event for many religions is the establishment of monasteries and temples in high, remote places. The act of climbing, of physically separating oneself from the mundane world below, is a powerful metaphor for spiritual ascent. It's a way of getting closer to the heavens, both literally and figuratively. As you near the top, the path levels out, leading you through a narrow passage before opening onto a wide, flat plateau. And there it is. The monastery is revealed not with the sudden, theatrical flair of the Treasury, but with a quiet, profound sense of arrival. Carved from the same rose-red sandstone, it is even larger than the Treasury, its immense façade dominating the plateau. It is simpler in its decoration, less ornate, but its sheer size and its majestic, isolated location give it an aura of profound peace and power. It's a strange but true fact that despite its name, the monastery was almost certainly not a Christian monastery. The name was given to it by locals centuries later. perhaps due to the crosses that were carved into its interior walls during the Byzantine era, when it was likely repurposed as a church. Its original Nabataean function is, once again, a subject of debate. Was it a temple dedicated to the deified Nabataean king Obodossai, or was it a grand feasting hall for a specific religious association or cult? Historians still debate the specific deities and rituals that were practiced at but its scale and grandeur leave no doubt as to its importance that you walk across the sun-drenched plateau and stand before the colossal doorway, feeling utterly dwarfed by its scale. Unlike the bustling city below, it is quiet here. The air is still, and the only sound is the gentle whisper of the wind. You feel a sense of profound solitude and tranquility. It's like finally reaching the summit of a difficult mountain climb, that moment of breathless awe where all the effort and struggle melts away, replaced by a feeling of pure, simple presence. You imagine the priests and pilgrims of old, sitting in this very spot, looking out at the endless expanse of the Wadi Araba desert, feeling a deep connection to their gods and to the vast, silent power of the landscape. They came here to escape the world, to find a space for quiet contemplation. And as you stand in the warm afternoon sun, listening to the silence, you understand completely. Ad-Deir isn't just a monument. It is a sanctuary, a place of peace carved into the very top of the world. Descend from the profound, solitary peace of the monastery, your mind still echoing with its silent grandeur. As you make your way back down the 800 steps, the sounds of the lower valley begin to return, and you allow your imagination to perform a different kind of magic. You begin to strip away the centuries of silence and decay, to repaint the faded facades, and to fill these empty streets with the ghosts of its vibrant, commercial past. Because Petra wasn't just a city of tombs and temples. It was, for a time, one of the most important and wealthiest trading hubs in the entire ancient world. It was the linchpin of the legendary Incense Route, a vital artery of commerce that connected the riches of the Arabian Peninsula with the insatiable markets of the Roman Empire. Imagine the colonnaded street, not as a quiet ruin, but as a bustling, chaotic marketplace. The air would be a heady cocktail of smells you can hardly comprehend. The deep, earthy aroma of frankincense from Oman, the sweet, spicy scent of myrrh from Yemen, mixed with the pungent tang of camels, the smell of grilling meat from food stalls, and the exotic perfumes of merchants from a dozen different lands. It's like combining a farmer's market, a luxury goods store, and the international terminal of a major airport into one single, overwhelming sensory experience. The street would be a river of humanity. You'd see Nabataean merchants in their simple robes, their faces shrewd and calculating as they haggle over prices. You'd see Roman traders, their armor glinting in the sun, inspecting bolts of Chinese silk. You'd see Egyptian emissaries, dark-eyed desert Bedouins leading their caravans, and Greek sailors who had traveled overland from the sea. A common historical event for strategically located cities was their rise as major centers of trade. There, wealth built not on what they produced, but on their ability to control and tax the goods that passed through their territory. The Nabataeans were masters of this. They controlled the key oases and provided safe passage for a price to the caravans that braved the perilous desert routes. Their city was the ultimate rest stop, a place where traders could rest, resupply, and, of course, pay their taxes. This is where the true genius of their water engineering paid off. In a world where water was more valuable than gold, the Nabataeans had it in abundance, and they charged a premium for every last drop. You can picture the scene in a grand caravanserai, a large courtyard where camels are unloaded, groaning under the weight of their precious cargo. The animals are led to massive stone troughs to drink their fill, while their owners conduct business in the cool shade of the surrounding porticos. It's a strange but true fact that the most valuable commodity traded along this route was not gold or silk, but frankincense. This aromatic resin, harvested from trees in southern Arabia, was essential for religious ceremonies throughout the Roman Empire, and its value was, at times, equal to that of gold. The Nabataeans effectively held a monopoly on its overland trade, making them fabulously wealthy. Historians still debate the full extent of the Nabataean trade network, but evidence suggests it stretched from the ports of China and India to the cities of Rome and beyond. The sound would be a cacophony of a dozen different languages, the guttural tones of Aramaic, the official language of the Nabataeans, mixed with the lyrical flow of Greek, the authoritative cadence of Latin, and the various dialects of the desert tribes. You would hear the clinking of coins as deals were struck, the braying of donkeys, and the constant low hum of thousands of people conducting the intricate dance of commerce. It would have been a vibrant, noisy, and incredibly cosmopolitan place. It's like a modern-day global shipping hub, like Singapore or Dubai, but with more camels and a significantly higher chance of getting sand in your sandals. As you stand in the middle of the Nausilan street, you close your eyes and let the phantom echoes of this bustling past wash over you. For a fleeting moment, you can almost smell the incense, hear the forgotten languages, and feel the vibrant commercial heartbeat of the lost city of Petra. You wander away from the phantom echoes of the bustling colonnaded street, the scent of spectral frankincense fading from your senses, as you explore the less-traveled side canyons and ascend the stairways to the higher tombs. You begin to notice another layer of history, another subtle transformation painted over the Nabataean canvas. Inside some of the grand tombs, you see them, faint, almost imperceptible crosses, carefully chiseled into the sandstone walls. In one of the larger tomb complexes, the urn tomb, you can even make out the distinct architectural changes: a raised platform, an abstract reveal its later use, Xiri. You are witnessing the arrival of a new faith, a new world order that would once again reshape the city's destiny. This is the echo of Byzantine Petra, the period when the old gods of the Nabataeans were slowly replaced by the singular god of Christianity, the conversion of the Roman Empire to Christianity under Emperor Constantine in the 4th century AD was a pivotal moment in world history, and its effects rippled out to even the most remote corners of the empire, including this desert metropolis. A common historical event during this period was the repurposing of pagan temples and sacred sites into Christian churches. It was a powerful symbolic act, a way of physically and spiritually claiming a space for the new faith. In Petra, this happened on a grand scale. The magnificent urn tomb, likely the eternal home of a great Nabataean king, was consecrated as a cathedral in 446 AD. An event recorded in a Greek inscription still visible inside. You can imagine a bishop, his voice echoing in the vast chamber, leading a congregation of new converts, their Christian chants mingling with the far older, silent whispers of the Nabataean dead who were still entombed in the niches around them. It's like a trendy new restaurant opening inside a historic, protected landmark. The new tenants are there, but the old architecture, and perhaps the old residents, still make their presence known. This era brought a new visual language to the city. While many of the Nabataean carvings were abstract, focusing on geometric patterns and stylized representations of gods, Christian art brought a focus on human figures and narrative scenes. It's a strange but true fact that in some of these converted tombs, faint traces of Byzantine frescoes can still be seen. They are faded and damaged by time, but if you look closely, you can just make out the shadowy figures of saints, their halos glowing with phantom gold, their faces serene and otherworldly. These painted images would have been a stark contrast to the stark, unadorned interiors of the original tombs. Historians still debate how quickly and how peacefully this religious transition occurred. Was the conversion of the Nabataean people a willing adoption of a new belief system, or was it a more pragmatic acceptance of the empire's official religion? The evidence is scarce, but the repurposing of their most sacred ancestral tombs suggests a profound and citywide shift in spiritual identity. Q can almost feel the change in the city's very soul. The grand processions honoring the god Dushara would have been replaced by solemn Christian liturgies, the scent of sacrificial incense giving way to the sweet smell of beeswax candles and liturgical frankincense. The old gods were not violently overthrown, it seems, but simply faded into the background, becoming another layer in the city's increasingly complex spiritual tapestry. You stand inside the urn tomb, now just a vast empty hall, and look at a simple cross carved into the wall. It's a powerful symbol of transformation, of how beliefs can shift and empires can change, yet the stones themselves remain. The tomb has served as a home for a dead king, a cathedral for a living faith, and now a silent monument for curious travelers like you. It has absorbed all these histories, all these beliefs, and it holds them in a quiet, eternal embrace. It's a reminder that no culture, no faith, is ever truly erased. It simply becomes a new chapter in a much, much older story. You are standing in the quiet heart of Byzantine Petra, the faint echoes of Christian chants and Nabataean whispers mingling in the still desert air. The city, though changed, is still alive, still a significant center on the trade routes of the Eastern Roman Empire. But the world is changing, and the very ground beneath your feet is restless. The forces that would lead to Petra's eventual abandonment were not just economic or political, they were seismic. You can almost feel a low, deep rumble, a vibration that starts deep within the earth and travels up through the soles of your feet. A prelude to the cataclysm that would shatter the city's fortunes and begin its long, slow slide into obscurity. In the year 363 AD, a massive earthquake struck the region. This was not a minor tremor, but a devastating event that toppled buildings, collapsed tombs, and, most critically, crippled the city's lifeblood, its intricate water management system. A common historical event in this seismically active region, known as the Dead Sea Rift, is the occurrence of powerful earthquakes that have shaped and reshaped civilizations for millennia. For Petra, this particular quake was a turning point from which it would never fully recover. Imagine the terror of that moment. The solid rock, which had seemed so eternal and unyielding, suddenly heaving and groaning. The magnificent columns of the great temple would have swayed and then crashed to the ground. The facades of the tombs, which had stood for centuries, would have cracked and shed massive chunks of stone. The carefully engineered channels that brought water into the city would have been fractured, the dams breached, and the vital cisterns filled with rubble. The city must have been a scene of chaos and panic. It's like a modern city experiencing a total infrastructure failure all at once. No water, no power, no functioning roads, and half the buildings are unsafe. The recovery would have been a monumental task. The Nabataeans, now under Roman Byzantine rule, were resilient, and they did rebuild, but the city was wounded, its confidence shaken. The intricate water system, the product of centuries of accumulated knowledge, was severely damaged, and perhaps some of its secrets were lost with the craftsmen who perished in the quake. Historians still debate whether the 363 AD earthquake was the single killing blow, or simply the most severe of many factors that led to Petra's decline. The world was already shifting. The rise of sea-based trade routes, particularly through the Red Sea and Egypt, was beginning to make the difficult overland Incense Route less profitable and more obsolete. It's a strange but true fact that Palmyra, another great caravan city in modern-day Syria, rose to prominence around this time, drawing away much of the trade that had once flowed through Petra. The economic winds were changing, and Petra, once the center of the world, was slowly becoming a provincial backwater. You can picture the decades following the Great Quake. The city is quieter, some of its grandest structures left in ruins, too expensive to repair. The bustling markets are smaller, the caravans less frequent. The vibrant cosmopolitan energy has been replaced by a more subdued, somber atmosphere. Fewer merchants, more monks. It's the slow, sad decline of a once great capital city. It's like watching a glamorous, world-famous movie star gracefully aging into a quiet retirement, their blockbuster days behind them, now content with a quieter, less public life. The great earthquake of 363 AD didn't destroy Petra overnight, but it broke its spirit. It shattered the illusion of permanence and hastened the city's slow, inevitable fade from the world stage, leaving it vulnerable to the shifting sands of time and the quiet reclamation of the desert. You are drifting through the silent, echoing ruins of a diminished Petra. The grand markets are gone. The Roman legions have marched away, and the Byzantine monks have abandoned their rock-hewn churches. The city, once a bustling crossroads of the world, has succumbed to the patient, relentless power of the desert. Sand has filled the courtyards, the wind has scoured the painted facades, and the great city has faded not only from power, but from memory. For over 500 years, Petra became a secret known only to the local Bedouin tribes who sheltered in its empty tombs and watered their flocks at its hidden springs. To the outside world, it was a ghost, a half-remembered name in ancient texts. It became a lost city, shrouded in legend and hidden by the impenetrable geography of the desert. Then, in 1812, a lone European traveler arrived. This was not a merchant or a soldier, but a new kind of explorer, a scholar, an adventurer driven by a passion for history and a romantic obsession with the lost worlds of the past. His name was Johann Burckhardt, a young Swiss academic who had fully immersed himself in Arab culture. He spoke fluent Arabic, had converted to Islam, and traveled under the guise of an Arab scholar named Sheikh Ibrahim ibn Abdullah. This disguise was his key, the only way a Westerner could hope to travel safely through these fiercely guarded tribal lands. It's like a modern-day method actor going so deep into a role that they essentially become the character, all for the sake of getting access to an exclusive members-only location. Burckhardt had heard the whispered rumors from local Bedouins of a fantastic, ancient city hidden deep within the mountains of Wadi Musa. A common historical event during the Age of Exploration was the rediscovery of ancient sites by Western explorers, whose findings often ignited a wave of public fascination and archaeological interest back in Europe. Burckhardt was determined to be the one to find this fabled place. He knew that a direct request to see the ruins would be met with suspicion and refusal. The Bedouins were protective of their ancestral lands and deeply mistrustful of outsiders, whom they suspected were treasure hunters or sorcerers. Burckhardt devised a clever ruse. He told his local guide that he had made a sacred vow to sacrifice a goat at the tomb of the prophet Aaron, which he knew, from ancient maps, was located on a mountain peak beyond the mysterious lost city. His guide, bound by the sacred laws of hospitality and respect for religious piety, had no choice but to lead him. It's a strange but true fact that this very tomb of Aaron, the brother of Moses, is still a sacred site today, and Burckhardt's ruse was a brilliant exploitation of local customs and beliefs. You can imagine the tension of that journey. Burckhardt, the European scholar in disguise, trying to appear nonchalant while his heart pounded with anticipation. He would have feigned a casual interest as his guide led him down a narrow valley, pointing out the first of the strange, rock-cut tombs. "Ah, the ruins of our ancestors," his guide might have said dismissively, trying to hurry him along. But Burckhardt knew. He recognized the unique architectural style from his studies. He saw the grandeur and the scale and knew he was close. Historians still debate whether Burckhardt was truly the first European to see Petra in centuries, or merely the first to document it and bring its story back to the West. But there is no debating the drama of his discovery. As his guide led him through the winding, narrow, gorged, very sick you walked through earlier, Burckhardt must have struggled to contain his excitement. And then, that same breathtaking moment you experienced, the final turn, the sliver of Kharosred façade, and the full jaw-dropping reveal of the Treasury, he had found it. He, Sheikh Ibrahim, the humble pilgrim on his way to sacrifice a goat, was standing before one of the lost wonders of the ancient world. He was unable to linger, unable to sketch or take detailed notes for fear of arousing suspicion. He could only burn the image into his memory, complete his feigned pilgrimage, and hurry away, carrying with him a secret that would electrify the world. His published journals, released after his death, ignited a firestorm of interest in Petra, ensuring the lost city would never be lost again. You are standing again at the entrance to the sick, the modern world of tour buses and ticket stands behind you. But this time you look upon the landscape with new eyes, not just as a historian, but as a student of folklore. Before you enter the main canyon, you notice them, several massive, square-cut monuments, standing like stoic, silent sentinels guarding the way. These are the Djinn blocks, and they are among the oldest and most mysterious structures in all of Petra. They are not as ornate as the Treasury or as grand as the Monastery, but they possess a raw, primal power, a sense of immense antiquity that predates even the city's golden age. And according to the Bedouin tribes who have called this desert home for centuries, they are not just stone. They are the homes of the Djinn in pre-Islamic Arabian mythology. And throughout much of Middle Eastern folklore, Djinn or genies are not the comical, wish-granting figures of modern cartoons. They are powerful, often capricious, supernatural beings, born of smokeless fire, who inhabit a world parallel to our own. A common historical event is the syncretism of old beliefs with new ones. As religions changed, the old gods and nature, spirits, often didn't disappear but were rebranded as angels, demons, or, in this case, Djinn. These entities could be benevolent or malevolent, and they were believed to inhabit desolate, lonely places, deserts, ruins, and caves. Petra, a vast, abandoned city of tombs hidden in the desert, was the perfect real estate for them. It's like a modern billionaire buying up a huge, empty skyscraper in a forgotten city. Why wouldn't you, if you had the means and a desire for privacy? The Bedouin legends surrounding the Djinn blocks are as varied as the stones themselves. They are not tombs in the traditional sense, but powerful talismans, physical anchors for the elemental spirits that protect the valley. To pass by them without showing respect was to invite misfortune. You can almost feel the weight of this ancient belief as you stand before them. They are simple, almost brutalist in their design, massive cubes of solid rock, their purpose a complete mystery to archaeologists. Historians still debate their true function. Were they monuments to specific Nabataean gods? Were they a unique type of tomb reserved for a particular clan? Or were they simply markers, grand signposts on the road to the capital? The Bedouins have their own answer. They are houses, and their residents do not like to be disturbed. It's a strange but true fact that the name Djinn is the etymological root of the English word genie. a connection made famous by the Western translation of 1001 Nights. You can imagine a Bedouin elder sitting by a crackling fire at night, warning a young traveler about the spirits of the Djinn blocks. He would tell them not to whistle as they pass, lest they attract the attention of a mischievous Djinn who might lead them astray into the labyrinthine canyons. He would tell them to offer a quiet prayer or a respectful nod, acknowledging the unseen powers that reside within the stone. These stories weren't meant to be terrifying horror tales. They were practical warnings, a way of teaching respect for the potent, spiritual energy of the landscape. You place your hand on one of the massive stone blocks. It's cool to the touch, and it feels impossibly ancient, humming with a quiet energy that feels different from the rest of the city. You imagine a spectral, fiery form swirling within the rock, a powerful Djinn looking out at you with unseen eyes. Is it guarding the sick from intruders? Or is it simply at rest, a powerful being, in its eternal stone home? The whispers you thought you heard in the sick suddenly take on a new meaning. Was it just the wind? Or was it the murmur of these elemental beings, discussing the latest mortal to trespass on their domain? It's like hearing a strange noise get in your house and trying to decide if it's the plumbing or if the oddly specific gremlin your grandfather warned you about has finally come to visit. The Djinn blocks stand as a powerful reminder that before the Nabataeans, before the Romans, before the tourists, this land had its own stories, its own magic, and its own powerful, unseen guardians. Leave the primal, elemental power of the Djinn blocks behind and make your way back towards the city's heart, nestled against the side of a mountain. Its tiered seats perfectly integrated into the natural curve of the rock is the great theatre of Petra. At first glance it looks distinctly Roman, a familiar structure you might see anywhere in the empire, but like everything in Petra, it holds a deeper, older secret. You find a spot in the middle of the stone seats, the rock still warm from the afternoon sun, and look out at the magnificent stage. The backdrop is not a man-made wall, but a breathtaking panorama of the royal tombs carved into the cliffs opposite. It is perhaps the most spectacular stage setting in the entire world. This theater is a story in itself, determined. Archaeologists have determined that the Nabataeans originally carved a smaller theater here long before the Romans arrived. It was their own space for performance and assembly. Then, when the Romans took control in 106 AD, they did what Romans do best. They renovated and expanded. They enlarged the seating capacity to hold over 8,500 people and added more sophisticated architectural elements. A common historical event in Roman provincial cities was the renovation or construction of theaters, which were not just for entertainment, but were vital public spaces for civic announcements, religious festivals, and the dissemination of Roman culture. It's like a small, beloved local cinema being bought out by a massive international chain. The screen gets bigger and the sound system improves, but some of the original quirky charm might be lost in the process. You can sit here and imagine the incredible acoustics. The Nabataeans and the Romans were masters of sound engineering. A single actor, standing in the center of the stage, could speak in a normal voice and be heard clearly by every single person in the uppermost seats, even over the whisper of the desert wind. It's a strange but true fact that the theater's unique, concave shape, combined with the hard, reflective surface of the surrounding rock, creates a natural amphitheater with near-perfect acoustics. There was no need for microphones or sound systems here. The mountain itself was the amplifier. You can imagine a nervous young actor making their debut, their heart pounding as they realize their voice is filling this vast, sacred space, a space shared by the living and the dead. Historians still debate what kinds of performances were most popular here. While they clearly adopted the Greek and Roman theatrical forms, they undoubtedly had their own unique traditions, their own stories and songs, the details of which are now lost to history. Kip. Imagine watching a light-hearted Nabataean comedy, the actors trading witty insults on stage, while directly behind them, the silent, imposing facade of a royal tomb reminds you of the ever-present reality of death. It's like watching a stand-up special being filmed in a very, very elegant funeral home. A bit jarring, but you can't deny it has a certain dramatic flair. The whispers you hear on the wind are not just the desert breeze, but perhaps the faint, forgotten lines of a lost Nabataean play. You close your eyes and listen. The wind whistles through the empty seats, creating a low, mournful sound, almost like a chorus of voices. For a moment, you can almost make out a melody, a faint, ghostly tune that seems to rise from the stage itself. It is a performance 2,000 years in the making, performed by the silent, eternal cast of Petra's magnificent theatre. You step away from the phantom applause of the theatre, leaving the ghosts of the stage to their eternal performance. Your gaze is drawn upward, to the rugged sun-beaten summit of the mountain that looms over the valley, Jebel al-Madba. There, far above, the city of the living and the dead, lies a place of even older, more primal power. This is the high place of sacrifice, and the path to it is not the grand, engineered staircase of the monastery, but a more ancient, winding route, carved into the very flesh of the mountain. As you begin the ascent, the path quickly becomes steep and narrow, a procession of worn, shallow steps cut from the sandstone. The air grows thinner, cooler, and the sounds of the city below are quickly swallowed by the immense, profound silence of the high desert. Your journey is marked by two extraordinary monuments that stand like sentinels on the path. They are massive, towering obelisks, nearly 20 feet tall, but they weren't built like everything else here. They were carved, sculpted from the single, solid rock of the mountaintop. They are weathered and stark, their purpose deeply symbolic. It's a strange but true fact that these obelisks are believed to represent the most important Nabataean gods, Dushara and his female consort, Olupsa. They are not statues, but abstract representations, raw pillars of stone that channel the power of the divine. You pass between them, feeling as though you are passing through a sacred gateway into another realm, a place where the concerns of the world below no longer matter. After a final breathless climb, you emerge onto a wide, flattened plateau at the very summit of the mountain. The view is staggering, a 360-degree panorama of the entire region. You can see everything: the Treasury peeking from the Sikh, the ruined columns of the great temple, the entire street of Façades, and the distant, silent sanctuary of the monastery. But your attention is quickly drawn to the center of the plateau. Here, the bedrock has been leveled and carved with a chilling purpose. You see a raised platform, the main altar, with a small set of steps leading up to it. Cut into its surface are shallow channels and a small basin designed for a single grisly purpose: to channel and collect the blood of the sacrifice. Nearby is a circular basin, likely used for ritual cleansing with water, and a triclinium, a rock-cut chamber with benches on 3 sides where the priests would have held their sacred feasts, a common historical event in almost every ancient culture, from the Near East to the Americas, was the practice of ritual sacrifice on sacred high places, believed to be closer to the heavens and the domain of the gods. The high place of sacrifice at Petra is one of the best preserved examples in the entire world. Standing here, in the stark silence, it is impossible not to feel the weight of the countless rituals that took place on this very spot. You can almost smell the phantom scent of burning incense and spilled blood on the wind. You can almost hear the low, rhythmic chanting of the Nabataean priests as they called upon their gods. Imagine a priest in ceremonial robes, holding a bronze dagger aloft, his voice echoing across the plateau as he prepares the offering. A goat, a sheep, perhaps a dove that would ensure a bountiful harvest or victory in battle. It's the ancient equivalent of sending a very, very serious email to corporate headquarters, hoping the powers that be will grant your request. Historians still debate the true nature of the rituals performed here, particularly whether they were limited to animals here, or if, on the rarest of occasions, in times of great crisis like famine or war, darker, human sacrifices were made to appease the gods. While there is no definitive proof, the unsettling design of the altar, with its channels perfectly suited for draining liquid, leaves a chilling space for speculation. You run your hand over the cool, smooth stone of the altar. It feels ancient, charged with a powerful, almost electric energy. This was a place of life and death, of desperate pleas and divine communion. You look out at the city below, a masterpiece of human ingenuity and artistry, and you realize that its existence was sustained by the powerful, often brutal, beliefs practiced up here on this wind-swept, sacred summit. This wasn't just a place of worship. This was the spiritual engine room of Petra, where the fate of the city was negotiated with the old, unforgiving gods of the desert. You make your way down from the unnerving, sacred silence of the high place of sacrifice, leaving the old gods to their mountaintop solitude. As you descend back into the main valley, the ancient world of Nabataeans and Romans begins to merge, clith with the present. You hear the soft tinkling of a goat's bell, smell the rich, earthy aroma of brewing coffee, and see the bright, colorful textiles of a makeshift stall. You are encountering Petra's modern guardians, the keepers of its secrets, and a living link to its nomadic past, the Bedouin. The local Bedouin tribe has lived in and around the caves and tombs of Petra for centuries, long after the city was abandoned and forgotten by the outside world. For them, this is not just a historical site. It is their home, their ancestral land, and the backdrop to their entire existence. As you walk, you see them everywhere. A Bedouin man, his face weathered and wise, sitting in the shade of a tomb, calmly smoking a pipe. A group of children with bright, intelligent eyes, laughing as they chase a goat up a flight of ancient steps. A woman in a beautifully embroidered black dress, her hands deftly weaving a colorful rug on a simple loom. They move through this city of the dead with a familiarity and ease that is breathtaking to witness. They are not ghosts. They are the living, breathing soul of Petra. It's like finding out that the docents at a stuffy old museum actually live in the exhibits after hours, sleeping in the four-poster beds and having dinner parties in the grand ballroom. It completely changes your perception of the place, making it feel less like a relic and more like a home. Their connection to this land is ancient and profound. A common historical event for many indigenous peoples around the world is the forced relocation from their ancestral lands. Bedouin of Petra experienced this in the 1980s when the Jordanian government, in an effort to protect the archaeological site for tourism, moved them from their caves inside Petra to a purpose-built village nearby. While the move provided modern amenities like electricity and running water, it also severed a deep physical connection to the land their families had inhabited for generations. Many still return to the city every day to work as guides, to sell handicrafts, or to simply be in the place they consider their true home. It's a strange but true fact that many of the older Bedouins possess an encyclopedic knowledge of Petra that goes far beyond what is written in any guidebook. They know the secret paths, the hidden springs, the tombs that are not on any tourist map. Their knowledge is not learned from books, but is an oral tradition, passed down from father to son. mother to daughter, through stories told around a crackling campfire under the stars. They are the keepers of the city's folklore, the tales of the Djinn, the legends of hidden treasure, and the ghost stories that are not told to tourists. Historians still debate the line between Bedouin folklore and actual historical memory, wondering how many of their fantastic tales might contain a kernel of forgotten truth. You might stop at one of their small stalls, a simple blanket laid out, on the sand displaying colorful scarves, handmade jewelry, and bottles of sand artfully layered to depict camels and the Treasury. You might buy a cup of sweet, cardamom-infused Bedouin tea. And if you are quiet, respectful, and genuinely curious, the owner might share a story with you. He might point to a high, inaccessible tomb and tell you it is the palace of a daughter. He might show you a rock that looks like an elephant or a fish. He will speak of the Djinn as if they were a simple fact of life, as real as the sun and the stone. You are not just a customer. You are a guest, participating in an ancient tradition of desert hospitality. You look into the man's dark, knowing eyes, and you realize you are seeing Petra through a different lens. You are seeing a living landscape, a place not just of history, but of magic, myth, and enduring human resilience. These are the people of the rock, and their quiet, dignified presence is the most powerful and authentic echo in this entire, magnificent city. I'm now sitting with the Bedouin elder, the sweet, fragrant steam from your teacup warming your hands as the last of the day's light fades from the sky. The stories of the Djinn, the kings, and the ghosts have woven themselves into the very fabric of this place, and the line between history and myth has blurred into a beautiful, seamless tapestry. The sun, a perfect orb of molten gold, finally dips below the distant mountains, and the desert performs its final, most breathtaking act of magic. The sky, which was a pale, washed-out blue during the heat of the day, now explodes into a riot of color. Deep oranges, vibrant purples, and soft rose pinks paint the clouds, and this light is reflected onto the city itself. The sandstone façades, which looked pale and dusty in the midday sun, now seem to catch fire, glowing with an intense, otherworldly, blood-red light. It is an absolutely stunning, almost overwhelming sight, and it lasts for only a few precious minutes. This is the moment when Petra truly earns its name as the Rose-Red City. It's like the entire city is blushing, a final beautiful sigh at the end of the day. As the colors in the sky begin to deepen into the indigo of twilight, another light show begins. One by one, then in their thousands, and finally in their countless millions, the stars appear. Here, far from the light pollution of any modern city, the night sky is a spectacle of unimaginable clarity and brilliance. The Milky Way is not a faint, hazy smudge. It is a thick, shimmering river of light that stretches from one horizon to the other. You can see constellations you've only ever read about in books, their patterns sharp and clear. It's a common, historical event for ancient desert cultures to have a profound and deeply spiritual connection to the stars. For them, the night sky was a clock, a calendar, and a map, a divine text that told stories of gods and heroes. For the Nabataean traders navigating the vast, featureless desert, these very stars would have been their only guides, their celestial companions on a long and perilous journey. You lean back against the cool rock, the warmth of the tea still in your hands, and you simply look up. The silence of the desert night is absolute, a profound quiet that feels like the oldest thing in the world. There is no wind now, no phantom whispers, just the vast, serene stillness of the cosmos. The city of tombs around you is now just a collection of dark, silent silhouettes against the brilliant backdrop of the stars. The Treasury, the great temple, the monastery, they have all been humbled by the sheer, overwhelming majesty of the universe. It's a strange but true fact that many of the Nabataean tombs and temples are aligned with specific celestial events, such as the rising of the sun on the winter solstice or the position of certain constellations at key times of the year, suggesting a deep astronomical knowledge. Historians still debate the full extent of Nabataean astronomy, but the evidence carved in stone points to a culture that lived in deep harmony with the rhythms of the earth and the sky. This is the final, most profound secret of Petra. It's not just a city of the dead, or a marvel of engineering, or a crossroads of trade. It is a place of profound peace. You feel the anxieties and worries of your modern world begin to melt away, seeming small and insignificant under this vast, starry canopy. It's like finally turning off your phone after a long, stressful day and realizing how loud and chaotic the world has been. The quiet that follows is not an emptiness, but a deep and welcome relief. The ghosts of this place, if they are here, are surely at peace. The Nabataean kings in their eternal homes, the Roman soldiers at their long-abandoned posts, the Byzantine monks in their silent chapels, and the Bedouin spirits who have always known this land tonight. They are all just quiet observers, sharing this magnificent, timeless view with you. The whispers are gone, replaced by the silent, shimmering poetry of the stars. Asterisk, you're drifting now, no longer a traveler in a lost city, but a part of its eternal, quiet landscape. The crisp desert air begins to soften, the sharp edges of the crack-hewn tombs blurring into gentle, protective shadows. The brilliant, diamond-like clarity of the stars begins to melt, their light becoming a soft, soothing glow that warms you like a familiar blanket. Let the story of Petra fade into a peaceful dream. The image of the Treasury, once so overwhelming in its grandeur, is now just a comforting rose-red presence in the back of your mind. The whispers of the Nabataeans, the commands of the Romans, and the chants of the Byzantines have all blended into a single harmonious hum, a lullaby of history that is both ancient and deeply calming. There is no need to climb any more steps, no more mysteries to solve. The Djinn are quiet in their stone houses. The phantom merchants have packed up their spectral wares, and the ghostly audience in the great theater has finally gone home. Their silent applause now, just a gentle rustle in the desert breeze. You feel the profound peace of this place seeping into you, a stillness born from millennia of sun and wind and stars. It's the quiet confidence of a city that has seen empires rise and fall and has understood that all things, eventually, return to the earth and the sky. Allow the weight of the day, the worries of your world, to feel as distant as the farthest star. Let them be humbled by the sheer scale of time that this place represents. Here, in the heart of the desert, under the watchful gaze of a million silent stars, there is only peace, there is only stillness, there is only the gentle rhythmic breathing of a world at rest. Asterisk, end of script. Sweet dreams.